Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope y'all are well. So, I've been doing some thinking, been doing some reading, doing some watching, doing some listening. And today I wanted to touch on a little topic that has been of interest to me over the last couple of days. And that is the whole issue of grifters. Now, not particularly a grifter as in someone who just steals from you, but in this case, a grifter on the internet. Someone who, I guess, like an actual grifter, is stealing from you, but they're stealing from you in terms of your attention, in terms of your emotions. A social grifter, if you will. Now, I did read an article. I'm going to post a link to that article in the description so y'all can read it as well. That kind of does a pretty good job of explaining what a social grifter is. So a good bit of what I'm going to be discussing tends to be based off of what I've read in that article. Not the whole of that article, because a good chunk of what I'm going to be saying is my own interpretation of what I read on there, combined with what I've seen over the past years. Now, I've been on social media for as long as I can remember, since I was a teenager. Because obviously when I was little, social media wasn't much of a thing except MySpace, but I wasn't on MySpace. I was very little, so obviously I didn't have a MySpace, but I did have a Facebook when I got older. And after years of having Facebook, eventually I got a Twitter, and during that time I got my YouTube channel. I've been through multiple different YouTube channels. Those who know me quite well understand the history of why I've had multiple different YouTube channels. I've lost some channels. Whether it's been unintentionally losing a channel or intentionally losing a channel, I've experienced it all throughout my history on YouTube. The channel I'm currently talking on is my third or fourth channel I've had, and this has been my stable channel since I've had this channel for quite some time now. But before I've had this channel, I've had two or three other channels in the past, and they're pretty much gone now. Long histories on them. Essentially, the channels either were hacked, like in my first channel, or I deleted them because I just lost interest, and then all of a sudden one day I sprung back up. Well, I had to spring back up anyways because I need to have an actual YouTube account in order to be able to watch videos that YouTube deems as too inappropriate for younger viewers, and you must have a YouTube channel. You must have a YouTube account in order to be able to see this video. So, of course, I had to have an account in order to be able to watch certain videos on this website. But, so, eventually that became what you see before you as this channel. So, anyways, in regards to grifter content, a social grifter, from what I've seen and from what I've read, to my understanding, is someone who creates content for the sake of stealing your attention. Someone who skews what it is they're saying, changes what they're saying to make it go a certain way, so that way you are paying attention to them. They have successfully toyed with your emotion, particularly anger, rage, and fear. They've toyed with these emotions of yours, and even to a lesser extent your happiness, depending on what grifter it is that's online. Usually grifters tend to focus on rage and anger and fear. These three emotions are their biggest targets, because they know these are the emotions that draw the most attention out of people. Excuse me. These three emotions are big for grifters. It's usually why a lot of political ads tend to be pretty anger-inducing or fear-inducing in nature, because they need to make sure that they've hooked you in, that they've gotten your attention. And just like in the case of a political ad, a grifter content creator on YouTube or on any social media platform tries to skew their content in a way that will draw people's attention in. That content creator may not fully be 100% in agreement with what it is they're saying, but they say it because they know that it's going to get your attention in some capacity. And once they've got your attention and you listen to what they're saying and you start agreeing with what they say, and then you want to watch or read or listen to more of what it is they're saying, they've got a new revenue stream for themselves. I liken this to the case of one of those megachurch pastors Like Joel Osteen, for example. Someone who basically says, oh, well, this is, who says things in a way that draws in people, toys with their emotions, and at the end of the day, they may not even be fully, you know, in agreement with what it is they're saying, or they may not fully believe in what it is they're saying. What they just need to make sure of, and I know a lot of people are probably going to shit on me for saying that because I mentioned Joel Osteen, but in all seriousness, a lot of these megachurch pastors, a lot of these types of guys are some of the are one of those big cases of well-known social grifters, folks who need to toy with your emotions for the sake of producing a profit off of you. Once they got your attention, you're a new revenue stream for them. Getting your attention is big for them, because once they got your attention, that'll eventually lead to them making money in some capacity. It's why content creators like e-girls, for example, make quite a bit of money off of social media, particularly off sites like Twitter, which will eventually get people to subscribe to them. Not because you find their content to be good in quality in any way, shape, or form, but because their content just simply draws your eyeballs to them. A lot of grifter content is essentially a social, I guess the social equivalent of an e-girl. You're drawn to it because you find what they're saying pretty. Or in this case, you find what they're saying to actually tug at your emotions to the point where you want to engage with this content more. The content creator in question may not even agree with what it is they're saying. A lot of the times, grifters will try to say that one of the biggest things that they try to say is that they're being censored, or that so-and-so is being censored, and therefore you must dislike or you must hate this particular thing or this particular person or this particular company or this particular organization because they are censoring them. They are censoring what they're saying, or they're censoring what you're seeing, or they're trying to censor what you're watching or what you're enjoying, etc., etc. I mentioned this before in my violence and sex and gaming vid. The whole thing of those people who say, oh, they're censoring the titties in the new whatever game that came out, and this is unforgivable. This is not acceptable. How dare they do this? How dare they reject natural human nature to see something that you find attractive on screen? How dare they do that? That is censorship. A lot of the times grifters will use the big word of censorship a lot of times, because the usage of the word censorship already draws some kind of emotion in people. That emotion usually is rage or annoyment. Well, it's basically rage, or you're annoyed, or you're angry. Fear, not so much. Of course, they can draw out the emotion of fear if they say they're going to censor you. That's one of the big things online grifters tend to do. Like I said, just like how e-girls draw people in by just showing cleavage or showing themselves in some kind of skimpy outfit, a grifter content creator is somebody who's essentially using their words as their skimpy outfit or their cleavage or their revealing outfit or whatever it is. In the case of, you get what I mean. In the case of a grifter on the internet, they use their words as their own skimpy outfit. I know I just repeated myself there, but it's one of those things that happens to me. I go off on a little bit of a tangent, and then as I'm deep in what I'm saying, I tend to repeat myself a couple of times. I'm doing a good job of fixing that. But in terms of what they say, they wear it on themselves like a skimpy outfit. It draws your attention to them. Once they've got you hooked in, at some point they're gonna try and get you to try and buy their stuff, or try and spend money on them. Because if you spend money on them, or you keep supporting them, they're gonna make money, which means that they won't be censored ever again, and that their one true source of information is the only source of information you need, and you cannot allow them to be taken off the air or censored. It's pretty much one of the biggest things that Alex Jones did for so damn long. Say that they're trying to censor me, they're trying to take down InfoWars, they're trying to cut you off from the information that you have a right to know. This is a big thing grifters tend to do. And a lot of grifters can base their content off of things like politics or society or entertainment. In the case of certain grifters I've seen on Twitter, it's usually culture war related things, to a lesser extent politics. In the case of gaming in particular, with I know my channel is pretty big on gaming, but in particular with gaming, they'll try and say censorship in gaming, or they're censoring out the boobies in the game. That's usually one of the big ones I've seen a lot of. And they'll always say they're being censored. Every single time they're gonna say, support me, because they're trying to censor me and they're trying to cut you off from true information. Not like these people online with their backwards way of thinking, or their authoritarian mindsets, or their censorship. And this happens on both the left and the right. There's a lot of content creators that tend to always do this whole thing of where they're like, they're censoring me and you can't let them do that. It'll be the end of times, the end of days if they cut me off. And it's frankly quite annoying. Now, somebody who genuinely says what it is they're saying online is never really going to give a shit about how many people are listening to them. They want what they're saying to be out there. They know very well that not a lot of people are going to listen to them, and if a lot of people listen to them, that's fantastic. If a lot of people don't listen to them, that's fantastic as well. What really matters to them is that they get what they're trying to get off their chest. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I try and do my best to say what it is that I genuinely feel about something. If you agree with me, great. If you don't agree with me, that's great also. I have something I want to say, so I want to say it. I'm not going to change my words to try and fit to a particular audience type or a particular group of people that I'm just not trying to appeal to. I'm just trying to appeal to myself. I'm trying to say what I want to say. And that's the one big thing that differentiates someone who actually believes in what they're saying compared to someone who just says what they say in order to steal your attention. A grifter, basically. A social grifter, if you will. Someone who is genuine. And this I guess kind of relates to what I mentioned before about how entertainment is no longer genuine. The thing I said a couple videos ago about how entertainment has been declining over the years, particularly in terms of what is genuine and what is not genuine. It's something that I take more to heart for myself about what is genuine and what's not genuine. As I've gotten older over the years, I feel like what is genuine is something that you really got to do some effort into analyzing. You got to do some effort into reading between the lines to know if something that is being said is genuine. What I mentioned before about some of the signs that someone is just trying to be a grifter and trying to steal your attention away from other things because they need their attention for themselves so they can make money off of you. What I've mentioned before, some of the big red flags of what your average social grifter tends to do. Your average genuine person is not going to try and steal your attention away. They're going to say what they want to say, regardless of whether or not you agree with them or not. They're not going to skew their words because, oh, I need to make sure that the audience is always in agreement with me, and if I lose one member of my audience, that's it. That's it. I can't function anymore. I've lost somebody from my audience. Or they'll try and always change what they're saying. It's like, no, I didn't say that before. Or I may have said that before, but I've changed. And they changed over the course of like a week or two. Or a day. It's like, oh no, usually they're always going to try and deny what it is they're saying. If you are genuine about what you are saying, you will not deny what it is that you said before. Like I've mentioned before, I don't agree with censorship in any way, shape, or form. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh, if you don't follow me or if you don't donate to me or whatever, that I'm going to be censored off the platform because what I'm saying is not agreed to by the website or the platform I am on. No, like if I've always said, not everyone is going to agree with you. It's just a fact of life. Human nature. Basically, there's billions of us on this planet. We're not all going to agree with each other. we have our own opinions. Some opinions are better than others. Some opinions are based on some kind of facts. Others are based on, you know, I guess bullshit in this case. It really depends. But in terms of human nature, we will never be able to all agree on the same thing. There will always be somebody who disagrees with you. A grifter will try and make sure that they skew what it is they're saying to make sure their audience is always in agreement with them. Because if at some point they lose the audience because they disagree with them on some big thing, and that is detrimental to the grifter. Someone who is genuine about what they're saying doesn't really give two shits if they lose audiences or they gain audiences. They just care about saying what it is they have to say, and that's it. No matter how insane it is, or how logical it is, or how whatever it is, someone who's genuine is going to say something. And people will like what they say, and people will not like what they say. They don't care. They just want to say it for the sake of saying it, because that's how they genuinely feel about it. They're not trying to earn a profit off of you. They're not trying to make money off of you. I've always said that in the case of sports entertainment, a lot of those shows where you always have that one guy on the show who always has to say, "Oh, well, LeBron is not that good of a basketball player. He's mid at best. He's not very good." Obviously, anyone with a brain can easily tell that LeBron is not mid. He's an amazing basketball player. But there's always gotta be somebody who has to be the contrarian in this case, completely ignoring the obvious because they know that there is an audience who is in disagreement with the statement of, is LeBron an amazing basketball player? Now, you can disagree with the whole thing of, is he the greatest of all time? Now, that is an argument that, you know, there can be people who agree with that and people who disagree with that. It's a good argument. What you can't disagree with is, he's a good athlete, he's a good basketball player. You can't disagree with that. You know, there's going to be people who say, "Oh, he's mid, he's not that amazing," and there's always going to be that one guy on some kind of sports talk show who will always say, "Oh, he's terrible, he's not that good," and they always move the goalpost, and they always try and change what it is they're saying. They may not even agree with what it is they're saying, but they have to say it because they know that they have an audience who will pay to listen to what it is they're saying. And if they lose that loyal audience of theirs because they change their opinion, now they start saying all of a sudden, "Oh no, I like LeBron. I've always liked LeBron as a basketball player since day one. I don't recall ever saying that I thought he was mediocre, that I thought he wasn't that good." Because that's detrimental to the grifter. That's detrimental to in this case, the sports content grifter. It's detrimental to their image because they've been known as the longtime LeBron hater. You know, like I said, arguing about whether or not he's the GOAT, that's a genuine argument. Arguing about whether or not he's a good basketball player, there's nothing really to argue about there. He's a great basketball player. You know, a definite Hall of Famer for sure. But saying, is LeBron the GOAT? Obviously not, because there's other candidates for the GOAT. There's Kobe Bryant, there's Michael Jordan, there's Magic Johnson, etc. In the case of content on the internet, there's always going to have to be somebody who has to say something that is something that most people disagree with, or something that most people agree with, but they try to make sure that they blow what they're saying out of proportion to get the largest audience possible, because they need to hoist their flag, wave it proudly in the air, and let everybody know that this is what I think about this. It may not actually be what I think about it, but I know that y'all really want to hear somebody say this. And I'm going to get an audience from y'all who agree with me on this. And once I have my audience, I need to maintain that audience. Even if I don't agree with what I'm saying, I have to keep saying this. I have to kind of skew what I'm saying slowly over time based on the situation and the circumstances, depending on what happens. But what matters to me is that I've maintained my audience because they are my revenue stream. And like I mentioned before, like how an e-girl works. An e-girl always has to make sure that she stays in the eyes of her loyal simps, her loyal audience. They has to do everything possible, whether it's cosplaying in a skimpy way or changing the skimpy outfit she's wearing, showing off more, doing all sorts of sexy poses, etc. Grifter Grifters on social media are like that. They need to change what it is they're saying in order to keep the audience actively engaging with them. Because once their audience is gone, their revenue stream is gone, and then they don't have anything else anymore. It's not genuine. It's one of those things that always annoys me when something isn't genuine. Like I mentioned over the years, as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that I want something that's genuine. If I notice that something is not genuine, I can easily pinpoint it. Now, I'm someone who, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I'm someone who at least is able to kind of understand, in terms of how media works. I guess more media literacy in this case. I have a slight bit of a high media literacy. I can tell when something is blatantly bullshit, just meant to grab my attention and that's it because they want a revenue stream. And I can tell when something that's being said is actually someone's genuine opinion. I also have to recognize I'm not a genius. I'm not some kind of skilled expert or magician or something who can read minds and immediately tell when something is bullshit. You gotta do some digging. And sometimes we may be wrong. We are human after all. But someone who has some kind of higher level of media literacy will be able to more easily pinpoint when someone is just grifting and when someone is actually being genuine. And as I've learned over the years, I want more genuine content. I want more genuine things being said. Even if I don't agree with what's being said, at least I know that somebody was being genuine in what it is they're saying. Which is one of the reasons why I don't like social grifters. One of the reasons why I don't like e-girls, or why I don't like megachurch pastors that just simply speak about the holy word and the Bible and Jesus and all that, but they don't actually practice what they preach. They just care about saying what it is that makes people feel good, because they know that once they've made those people feel good, they're going to give money. And once they start giving money and they've got them hooked on that revenue stream, they got them hooked on that line, that's payday for them, and that's all they care about at the end of the day. It's one of those things that genuinely pisses me off, because if you are someone who is going to be, whether it's someone who just simply states their opinions on something, or whether you're going to say something that's political, or even something that's religious, like in the case of you're someone who's a proud Christian or a proud Muslim, and you're going to say your opinions on something, say your opinions on something that you genuinely feel. Not everyone's going to agree with you, and there's going to be people who disagree with you. That's okay. Just say what you want to say about something. It's your opinion. Don't just simply say something for the sake of gathering the audience and always doing what matters to your audience, and that's about it. Catering to the audience. Cater to your own feelings, your own emotions, your own views. Cater to that, because that's what matters at the end of the day. Yourself. If your audience doesn't like what it is that you're saying, well, big whoop. The only time the audience opinion matters on something is when it comes to when you're trying to entertain them. You got to make sure that the audience is entertained in that case, but that's a completely different thing. What I'm saying here is in regards to information or opinions being shared, or when you're making content that's involves you saying your views on something. Just be genuine in what it is you're saying. Don't grift, because it's honestly annoying, and you can tell who the grifters are. There's some grifters that are more obvious than others, but it's obvious. But it's pretty easy to spot when someone's just grifting. And again, the big thing that grifters will always say is that they are being censored, or they're at risk of being censored, because that tugs at the emotion of fear, and it tugs at the emotion of rage. And once they've tugged at those emotions, they got you hooked. They got you hook, line, and sinker. Now they've got your attention, and you're that revenue stream for them. And that's a big problem in today's world. The fact that there's all these voices left and right talking to you about their opinion on this and their view on that, and you, the poor bastard who's just standing there trying to make sense of it all. You don't know how to make sense of it all because your media literacy isn't very high. You don't know what's going on. You're trying to take pieces of what it is that you're hearing, and then one person who manages to grab your attention the most comes at you like they're trying to be the voice of reason, and they're trying to take you into their into their light, into their arms, and just filling your mind with sweet nothings, with just information that's total bullshit, and in their mind they don't even agree with. But you like hearing what it is they're saying. You yourself may be developing your own view on something, and that's great. But developing your own views based off the manipulation of a grifter is just awful. It's something that I've always said it's morally wrong. Well, morally wrong, but specifically ethically wrong. You want to always say what it is you genuinely want to say about something. The only time you should never be giving your opinion on something is if you're just trying to state basic information, like the news. Unfortunately, in the modern day, the news tends to be pretty opinionated for the most part. Very rarely do you find anything that's news that is genuine news. It's just simply, hey, this thing happened, and that's all you need to know. Or, this thing is happening, that's all you need to know. When something is opinionated in the news, they're going to say, this thing is happening because of so-and-so thing, and they're the reason, or this so-and-so is the reason why this is happening, and that kind of stuff. It's one of those things that makes me pretty sad about the state of how social media and just society is going in this day and age. I'm hoping it can get better, but I guess that's wishful thinking. Anyways, that's my little ramble for today about grifter content. I guess in a sense, I also kind of spoke about why we as humans are psychologically drawn into this, with the whole comparison with e-girls and content grifters. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed today's little ramble. If you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, that's great as well. Post your comments and telling me what you think about what was said. And remember to like or dislike, comment, subscribe, etc. All that good stuff. I'm gonna try something new with my content. There wasn't I'm recording this technically on Sunday. It was Saturday a couple hours ago. By the way, once this goes up, there wasn't a stream on Saturday. I just didn't feel like doing a stream. I know there hasn't been a stream for 2 weeks. I am trying to get a stream going at some point, maybe next weekend. It's just that I'm a little tired from my day to day. So this is my neat little hobby thing I do on the side, and it's one of those things that gives me something to do aside from just gaming and reading and watching television. So being able to speak how I feel about things, it's a neat little thing. So this is like a little, I guess, passion project on the side. Anyways, tangent ramble that has nothing to do with the main ramble aside, I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in for this long in the video. This didn't go on as long as my last video. I usually try to not make this go on for that long. If y'all do want me to go on longer, I may make a long form vid on my opinions on things as time goes by, but really that depends. I like the shorter form better because it's easier for me to edit and render all this and upload this to YouTube, because obviously the internet is not advanced enough to upload a YouTube vid in just a few seconds. A YouTube vid that's only like that's like 30 plus minutes long in only a few seconds. We haven't reached that level of internet strength yet. I think maybe Japan has that level of internet strength already. In America, we sort of have it, I think, if you have fiber optic, but I don't have fiber optic, but my internet is still pretty damn fast. But not god tier fast, not fucking jet fighter levels of fast. Not Mach speed levels of fast, if you get what I mean. So, if you do want long form, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and see what the audience thinks about things. But yeah, thank y'all for watching, and peace.